Welcome back. Now we'll look at the final paper, paper 23 of the May-June 2024 series. And as always, the mark schemes have been released already. So as well as watching these videos, I will recommend also check the mark scheme. Because obviously, well, maybe there's things that I've missed, but the mark scheme has. Also, of course, the video might go on quite long. So, well, as always, it's recommended watch at 1.25 or, 1.5 times the speed. Right, the first one, tick one box to complete this sentence. Write this flowchart symbol. Right, so let's think about this then. Well, actually, this one will just be a subroutine, so we can just tick that. Because this will be if we're calling a subroutine. I think in particular if we're calling a procedure. Whereas if we have a decision, well, a decision is just going to be a condition, right, which is a diamond. Input output, that's going to be the parallelogram. And then a terminator, well, that's start and stop, which is just the kind of oval. Right, the next one, 4 logic gate symbols and 5 logic functions are shown. Draw one line to link. Just link them together. Right, so this one then, well, here we've got an and then we've got the not. So that's going to be a NAND. And, I know sometimes people get confused because they think, well, the not comes first, then it's the and. But if we actually look at this logic gate, well, first we do the and. Then once we've done the and, right, then we not it. It's kind of the other way, to what you expect in the name. Right, the next one then, that's just going to be an or. The spaceship operator, as some people call it. Right, this one with the circle, that's just going to be not. And then this one, this kind of D shape, well, that's going to be the and. And of course, the way people often recommend to remember that, well, obviously, the shape is like the D in the and. Right, then if we think XOR, well, XOR is just going to be the same as OR, right, just with the extra line like this. So this one would now be XOR. Right, so here we want to complete the truth table for this logic circuit. Right, so here you can see then we've got an OR, then we've got a NOT. Of course, these are going to be NORs. Then this last one, this is just going to be an XOR. So if we just want to write that, and I guess there's a few ways we can write it. Either we can write it using NOR, or we can break that or we can break the NOR up into an OR and then not the whole thing. So let's try and write it in both ways. So I guess the simple way is going to be what A NOR B. Right, and then we want to go so XOR. Let's make sure just to put these in brackets. And then so obviously this is the XOR here. Right, then we're just going to be XORing well B NOR C. If you want, you could just do this directly. Maybe, like, I don't want to say a simpler way, but I mean, it's simpler in terms of, well, you're only using the OR and the NOT, right? You're not having to use the NOR directly. So if you want to write it like that, I guess you'd go, well, it's going to be A or B. Right, then what you're going to do is you're going to have to NOT this. So obviously it's a bit more complex in terms of, like, there's multiple kind of, multiple functions or, multiple logic gates. Right, then of course we're just going to have the XOR, and well, then we're just going to do the same. So then we're just going to go what not. That'll be a. Right, that's going to be looking at these, right, B, B or C. So effectively, these two are equivalent, right? Either we use NOR like this, or we use the not, right? Or we use the OR and the not individually. So I think I'm just going to do this first one, right? So it's kind of less to write. So what we want to go, A NOR B. Right, then we want to go, well, B NOR C. Right, and then I guess, well, finally we just XOR, which is this Z. Now let's think of the truth table for NOR, because let's say if we have, OR, right, I mean, let's just write these out, so 0, 0, 0, 1, right, 1, 0, and 1, 1. And the way to make sure that you remember how to do all of these, let's say the way to remember, in order to make sure that you write out every combination is you just count up in binary. So of course, 0, 0 is just 0, 0, 1 is 1 in binary, right, 1, 0 is 2 in binary, of course 1, 1 is 3 in binary. And obviously with just 2 inputs like this, it's quite easy not to forget. But let's say if you have 4 inputs, well, 4 inputs, there's going to be 16 different combinations. So if you just kind of like randomly start writing down combinations, it's probably going to be quite difficult. Quite difficult to actually get all of them. Right. So if we think OR, well, or is just going to be where at least one of them is true. So 0 or 0 is 0, but then these next ones, they're all going to be 1. So of course if we want the NOR, well then we're just going to NOT that. So effectively what we're looking for here then is we're looking for where A and B are both 0. So here we can see A and B are both 0 here, also both 0 here, and then in these well, it's all going to be 0. Right, then if we look B nor C, so again B and C are both 0 here, and then if we go down, I guess this one here, and then right, all of these are just going to be zeros. Now if we want XOR, so XOR will be true where both of them are different. So if we look, well here we've got a 1 and a 0, okay, so they're different. Here we've got a 0 and a 1, right, they're different, so of course that's true. And then everything else is therefore just going to be zeros. Right, and I mean hopefully again I've made no mistakes, although I will check just to make sure at the end. Right, so 3, we want to describe the characteristics of the string and char data types and give an example of each. Okay, so string, we can just say, well, this can represent anywhere from 0 to multiple characters. Probably let's write that. Maybe used to store. Right, let's say 0. Right, I don't know, maybe like 0 to many. And I guess in brackets we can just say multiple. Right, so 0 to many or multiple characters. And let's go for an example. Let's just go hello world. That's kind of the typical string example that everyone uses. Right, so a char, of course, that's going to represent just one character. So let's say, right, used to store. Let's just say 1. Okay, I think character is okay. I mean, the reason character is obviously not the best word is because, well, character is kind of similar to char. So when you're like describing something, I mean, you don't really want a description in terms of itself, because then you get like a recursive definition. But I mean, maybe we can say like one character, and let's put in brackets, maybe ASCII/Unicode. And I mean, like, honestly, whether Unicode will be valid characters is kind of language dependent, I guess. Because obviously, well, ASCII, if we think that's going to be 7 or 8 bits, whereas Unicode, that's going to be from 8 to 32 bits. So whether like a 32-bit emoji would be considered one character, that kind of depends on the language. Or let's say for an example, well, let's just go A, right, something simple like that. Right, for the pseudocode algorithms is intended to allow data for up to 50 people to be entered and stored in a 2-dimensional 2D array. The data is their last name, first name, and the city in which they live. Right, so what we want to do, we want to identify the line numbers of 4 errors and suggest corrections. Okay. So if we see, well, we declare people, that's going to be an array 1 to 50, right, 50 rows, so that seems correct. Right, 3 columns, again, that also seems correct as well, last name, first name, city. But then if we look here, well, it says, data type real. So I think this should probably be a string. And as always, like, I'm not going to start writing the errors. I'm going to first try to find all the 4 errors. And then, when I'm confident that I've found all 4, okay, then I'll write them at the end. Because, otherwise you'll like you'll write something that you think is an error. And then, you'll actually find out, maybe that's not an error and, there's an error later on. Right, so the next one, declare count integer. I mean, that seems okay. Right, response char. I mean, that seems okay. Because, if we go down here to line 20 and 21, we can see here that obviously they're comparing this to a character, right, just a single character. Right, then continue boolean. And I guess, that seems okay because, well, we see here they're assigning boolean false. So, that's probably all right. Right, then the loop, so line 5, for I 1 to 50, I mean, that seems okay because, well, 50 people. Right, then J, so this would be the column 1 to 3, again, that seems okay. Right, people IJ, and then they just assign this an empty string. So effectively what they're doing is, of course, well, just resetting every cell in the array just to be an empty string. Then they go next J, so that lines up, and then next I, okay, that lines up. Right, then they set count to be 100. So I mean, maybe that's okay, maybe it's not, I guess we'll have to look later. Right, continue is true, again, maybe it's, maybe that's okay, maybe it's not. Right, line 12, well, here they go case of, but then they're not actually checking any case conditions. So I think this one, if we look on line 27, this is until. So I guess here this line 12 should be repeat, right? It's going to be a repeat until loop. Right, then let's look at line 13. So enter the last name seems okay, right? The input into, yeah, people, the row is count. And then the index is 1, or, well, okay, let's say the column is 1. Right, then they say first name, column 2, city, column 3. Okay, so they look fine. But if we look, of course, count should start at 1. Whereas if we actually look here on line 10, count is starting at 100. So yeah, this will probably be another error. Right, then it says, do you want to enter another name, yes or no? Input response, yeah, that looks okay. If response is no, then continue is false. Right, else count is, well, count plus 1. Okay, right, then end if, yeah, that seems okay. Then 27, so until not count. Right, so I think probably this should be until not continue. And you would also want to think that because here it says only up to 50 people, you'd probably want to go, well, until, yeah, I guess, well, until not continue, well, and count is less than or equal to 50. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, or I guess you would go, okay, no, so you wouldn't go and less than or equal to 50. You would go until not continue, yeah, or count is greater than 50. Yeah, I think greater than or equal to 50 would also be okay. No, okay, alright, no, sorry. So in this case, you'd have to go greater than 50. And the reason you'd go greater than 50 is because, well, here it's going to increment to 50. Right, then, of course, it's going to go, if we just kind of go back here, of course, it's going to go back to the loop again. And, you know, then, of course, it's going to input, yeah, into row 50 like this. All right, so, yeah, let's just try and write all of those. Okay, so, and yeah, let me just zoom out here. Right, so the first one is just going to be line 1. And I mean, this is quite long to write, but let's just try and do it quickly. So we want to go declare people. I mean, basically just copying the same thing again. Right, that's going to be array. Right, the bounds are going to be 1 to 50. Okay, yeah, that's a 5. Okay, yeah, make sure to have the colons. Right, then of course we just want to go 1 to 3 for the columns. And then here, let's just go of string. Right, the next one, so that's going to be line 10. And here we just want to assign count the value of 1. Or yeah, initialize count with the value 1. Right, line 12 is quite easy, so it's just going to be repeat. Yeah, just one keyword. Right, and then error 4. So that's going to be 27, and what we want to say, let's go until. And I think we can just go until not continue. Because, I mean, I have actually read this paper before, and the one where it says about, obviously, you know, we only want to loop 50 times, right? That's one of the next questions. So I think, yeah, this one just until not continue, that's fine. Right, then we want to write the pseudocode that you could add to the end of this algorithm to output the contents of the array. Make sure that the output ends when the data in the array ends. Right, okay, so I'm just going to jump over into the website and do this. So here I've just, okay, there we go. Yeah, here I've just got this sample data, and well, we can see obviously these are like the valid ones, and then obviously, yeah, here it's just this empty data at the end. Now, again, you know, by the time this video is uploaded, this sample data will also be included, right, you know, under the exam questions. Right, so we could do it using a for loop, but the problem with a for loop is, well, it's going to loop all 50 times regardless, because we have no way to actually stop a for loop. So I think for these questions, you know, when we don't need to loop kind of the entire time, it's actually better to use either a while or repeat until. So yeah, rather than using, you know, a count controlled, right, we can use either a preconditional or post-conditional. So I think, I mean, first we'll just need an index to obviously store the current index we're at. Right, and then, yeah, I mean, I think probably that's all we need. So let's just go while, and what we'll say is we'll say, right, so I mean, let's check, because basically we want to loop while the current sort of person isn't empty. So let's go while people, this will be index, and let's just check for their last name. Right, so while people is not equal to an empty string, right, then we want a loop. Right, also, we also want to check while index is, well, yeah, let's go less than or equal to 50. And let's also make sure just to initialize index here. Right, I'm just going to go end while quickly. Then what, yeah, let's see exactly what we want to output. Okay, so I guess we can just output them maybe all on the same line. So let's just go output. We want to output people. And I think the way I want to do it is, let's say the first one, right, Joseph Jones. So let's just say, yeah, I don't know, maybe Joseph, let's say Joseph Jones, like from, and then Phoenix. Like that's going to be the kind of output I want. So this one, let's go index. The first name is going to be index 2. Right, then we just want to have a space, and then we want to go people. And in fact, actually, sorry, yeah, let's make sure to initialize this index at 1. Because, yeah, obviously pseudocode, well, generally you're going to start at index 1. Right, then we want to go, yeah, column 1, which is going to be the last name. Right, then let's just go from. And then finally, we just want to have the city, which should be right index, and then column 3. And then here, because we don't want an infinite loop, you know, we have to remember, let's just increment this index. Yeah, and I think that should be okay, so let's try and run it. Yeah, so we see that goes up to Mason Martinez, which, yeah, we see that's here, right, that's correct. Alright, so the next one says, explain how you could alter the original corrected algorithm to make sure that the number of elements being added to the array does not exceed the maximum size of, well, 50 elements. So again, I mean, that's kind of what I said here, where we would just want to add, yeah, we just want to add a condition here. So, right, we want to go, well, until not continue, yeah, or, and then this should be, well, count is greater than 50. Yeah, so that should work. So let's just try and explain that. And I mean, I'm thinking like, right, what are we going to write for 4 marks? So, I mean, maybe let's just mention this about the loop. So, all right, for the loop, or let's say, oh yeah, for the repeat loop. And let's just say the lines, right, that's going to be lines 12 to 27. Let's say modify the ending condition. Right, modify the ending condition. Right, to let's say to have an or statement. Right, okay, that, yeah, or statement, right, that also terminates. And in fact, yeah, okay, yeah, that should be fine. Right, that also terminates if the count is greater than 50. Right, I mean, so I'm not sure if that's going to be enough for 4 marks, but honestly, I can't think what else we're going to write. So for this one, I'd say, yeah, also make sure to check the mark scheme, right, just see what they've said. Right, then 5, okay, we've got some flowchart, and right, yeah, then we just want to complete the trace table. So let's just go ahead and minimize this, and yeah, I'll just go ahead and make these split screen. Alright, so yeah, let's have the flowchart in this one. Okay, so first then we just want to assign 0 to L. Right, we also want to assign 10,000 to S. Yeah, make sure to get enough zeros. Right, then we want 0 and 0. Okay, then we want to input the limit. So the limit they input here is 10, right, because, well, that's the first one they input. Right, we also want to assign 1 to count. Right, and then since now we're going in a loop, I mean, let's start a new line, or a new row. Right, so the first value is going to be 30. Right, then we check, so is the value greater than L? So in this case it is, right, so 30 is greater than 0. So then what we do is we set the value to be L. Right, okay, and then we set, right, then we go total, well, I mean, yeah, probably T, right? So maybe total is total plus value. So, right, that's going to be 30. Right, then we just increment the count, so that's going to go to 2. And we check, is the count greater than limit? So is 2 greater than 10? Right, that's going to be no, so then we're just going to input the next value. Right, so the next value then is going to be 18. Right, then we check, so right, is the value greater than L? And right, that's going to be false. So then we check, right, is the value smaller than S? So yeah, in that case, right, that is true. And then here, then we're just going to assign the value to S. Right, then again, we just want to add this to the total. So that's going to be what, 48? Yeah, 48, and now the count is going to be 3. Right, let's try and do the next ones quickly. So then we've got 8. Right, yeah, the value is going to be 8. Right, is 8 bigger than 30? Well, that's no. Right, is 8 smaller than 18? Okay, that's yes. So then what we want to do, we want to set the smallest to be 8. Right, and then we want to add to the total again, so that's going to be 56. Right, and yeah, let's make sure just to increment the count. Right, so then the next one, 25. Right, so is 25 bigger than 30? Right, that's no. And also, is 25 smaller than 8? Right, that's also no. So then we just add that, so that's what, 61, and then I think 81. And yeah, of course, that goes to 5. Right, the next one is 12. So, right, is 12 bigger than 30? Yeah, I guess, well, 12 bigger than 30, right, no. And yeah, of course, well, it's not smaller than 8. It's not smaller than 8. So, right, this is just going to go to 6, and the total is going to go 93. I mean, 17. All right, let's try and do these quickly. So that's going to go to 7. That's going to go 110. Right, then 2. So this will be smaller. I mean, let's do the count now. We can do that first. Right, so yeah, this smallest will be updated with this 2. Right, then we get 50. And yeah, I mean, let's also make sure just to update the total as well. Right, so 50, in this case 50 will be bigger than the largest. So now this sort of largest biggest is going to be 50. And the total is going to be what, 162? Right, then the count is going to go to 9. And yeah, then we have 15. So again, this 15 is not going to be smaller, it's not going to be bigger. But I think we can then just go 177. Right, and then, okay, so yeah, right, then we keep going one more because it's not greater than or equal to, it's actually greater. So, right, well, then we've got 5. And, well, 5 is not smaller, 5 is also not bigger, so we just add it. And, yeah, the count is then going to go to 11. Right, then if we go here, so now we're at this point, well, we assign t divided by limit to this a, which I guess is going to be the average. Right, so 182 divided by limit, well, that's going to be, what, 18.2? And, right, we're assigning that to a. Right, then we want to output, okay, I mean, yeah, this is, like, super long. So, right, we want to go L. Right, so L equals 50. Right, then, yeah, so I'm trying to look if there's any commas or anything, but there's not. I mean, there's not commas inside the string. Right, then we want to go S. So S is going to be 2. Right, then we want to go T. Right, T is going to be 182. And then, right, we have average, which that's going to be, what, 18.2. Yeah, and like, honestly, I'm not sure how they expect you to write all of this, you know, just in one kind of output box. But yeah, I guess maybe with a pen, you know, in the exam, maybe it's possible to do it. Right, so if we look next, then it says we just want to outline the purpose of this algorithm. So I guess what we're doing is, well, what we're just inputting is that, 10 numbers, because sorry, okay, right, that's 5 and then another 5, right? So we're inputting 5 numbers and obviously calculating the biggest, smallest, average, total. So yeah, let's just write that. Or okay, we could say we'll ask the user to specify how many numbers to enter, because again, that's based on the limit, right? Of course, if they enter 5 for the limit, it's only going to ask for 5 numbers. We'll ask the user to enter the number of numbers to enter, or I guess we could say the amount, right? The amount of numbers to enter. Right, okay, let's say, well, then calculate and output. Right, so it's going to be what the largest, I mean, let's see what order do they do it. Yeah, largest, smallest, total, and average. Right, largest, smallest. Okay, total and average. Let's say of these numbers. Okay, and hopefully that should be okay for 2 marks. Right, explain why the identifiers, right, L, S, T, and A may not be appropriate to use as identifiers and how they could be improved. Right, okay, I mean, let's say, since they're only one character, they're quite confusing, to understand what they're actually doing, or maybe they're not descriptive. Right, since they're only one character, right, let's say, the names are not descriptive. So we can say, right, hence this makes it difficult for us, right, or others to understand. So hence this makes the code right, difficult. Maybe let's say for us. We can also say like for us, especially in future as well, because I mean probably like the day we're working on it, probably we know what they mean. But if we come back like 6 months later and just look at this, of course we've got no idea what these letters actually mean. Which makes it difficult for us, and other programmers. Let's say, to understand the code. Right, let's say, and what these variables should store. Or let's say, this could be improved by. And we'll just say, right, improved by, and let's say using more descriptive names. Or we could say more descriptive identifier names. And let's just say, e.g., right, and then largest, which I mean, that's what they actually ask us to do next. So I guess, L, we can just say this could be called largest. Right, obviously S, that's going to be smallest. Right, T is just going to be total. And A is then just going to be average. Right, 6, a program is to be written that will accept integers that are between the values of 1 and 80 inclusive. Give examples of normal, abnormal, and extreme test data that could be used to make sure the program only accepts valid data. Right, so normal, I mean, this means data that should be accepted. Right, if we say abnormal, well, this is data that shouldn't be accepted. And if we say extreme, this would be both the biggest and smallest values that should be accepted. So if it's normal, I mean, we can say anything between 1 and 80. Or, specifically, I'd say, we don't really want to use 1 and 80 because, well, they would be the extreme values. So let's just go in the middle, 40. I mean, abnormal, we can just say like 100. We could also say 81. We could say 0. I mean, technically, they can also be considered boundary as well. But I guess they're, abnormal and boundary. Right then, extreme, well, that's just going to be 1. Right, okay, 1 or 80. And I mean, let's just talk about boundary because, sometimes they ask that. So boundary means, well, you want the biggest that should be allowed, and then let's say kind of the next one that's not allowed. So if we think, well, let's say here the boundary is 80. Yeah, okay, so let's say 80 is allowed, right? But then of course 81 is not allowed, right? So here these would be the two boundary data for the kind of upper bound. So that's the thing, right? Boundary is always going to have, well, it's always going to be in pairs. And then you can think for the lower bound, I mean, let's say here, right, of course, well, 1 will be accepted, right? 0 won't be accepted. So yeah, I mean, hopefully you can see that, right? For boundary data, there's actually 4, okay, effectively 2 pairs. Right, so then we want to describe what is meant by extreme test data. So I did actually check the mark scheme, and for this, I mean, a keyword they want is limit. So we can say, let's say maybe the biggest, or I don't know, maybe let's say the limits of acceptable data. And then we'll say, you know, i.e. the biggest and smallest value that should be accepted. Yeah, all right, let's go i.e. right, the biggest. Right, biggest and smallest. Right, data that should be accepted by the program. Yeah, okay. And again, you know, for these kind of definitions, I mean, you probably want to check the mark scheme. Yeah, just see the exact definition that they give. Because, you know, I mean, I guess maybe it seems easy, it's only 2 marks. But again, you know, you do need those keywords that they have in bold. Right, the next one, the string operation substring. So it takes a string, right, then an x and y, returns a string from full text, beginning at position x, that is y characters long. The first character in full text is in position 1. Right, so we want to write pseudocode to store the string IGCSE Computer Science at Cambridge in full text. Then we want to extract and display the words computer science from the string and store it in a suitable variable. And we want to output the original string in uppercase. Right, so I'm just going to copy this, and again, let's just try it in the website. Right, so first then let's just declare some variables. And, you know, whether we need to declare full text, you know, I'm not really sure. Because yes, sometimes they want us to, sometimes they don't require it. But I think, you know, just to declare it anyway, it's better to be safe. Right, then it says we also need to create another variable for this kind of substring. So maybe I'll just call it parts, right? You can also call it maybe CS, or yeah, just, you know, anything like temp. Right, they're both going to be strings, and then what we want to do, we just want to copy this, and we want to store this in full text. Right, so now what we want to do, we want to, we want to get this part, and then we just want to use this substring function. So again, we're taking, we're taking this full text, that's the string that we're operating on, or getting the substring of. Right, and then we want to work out, well, what is the index of this C? So we just need to count. So of course, right, I is going to be 1, G is going to be 2, right, C is 3, S 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so C should be character 7. Right, then we just need to count, well, how many characters do we want? So, right, we want 1, right, that's going to be C. Right, so yeah, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, remember to count the space, right, this is going to be 9. Yeah, S is going to be 10, right, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So yeah, hopefully if I've not miscounted, it should be 7 is the starting index, and then we want 16 characters. And of course, you know, you can do this again, well, that's going to be, what, 4 characters, yeah, 8 characters. Then we've got, what, another, yeah, we've got 7. And then, of course, we've got the space as well. So yeah, that should be 16. Right, and then we just want to output the, output the original string in uppercase. So yeah, it seems we don't actually need to output this part. And obviously to do uppercase, we can just use this U case. And of course, if we wanted to do lowercase, well, we would just use L case. Yeah, let's run that, see if it works. Yeah, that seems to work. And I mean, let's try and just output this part. I mean, it says we don't need to do this. But yeah, we can see that that does work. And yeah, let me just read it again. Yeah, so it just says extract and display. Okay, we don't actually need to output that. Right, next one, we want to write the pseudocode statements to store the content of the variable you created in part A to a text file named subjects.txt. and then we want to close the text file at the end of the algorithm. Okay, so effectively we're just writing this part to this subjects.txt file. So let's just do that. We'll just go open file, and yeah, I mean hopefully you remember how to do file operations. Right, first we have the name, so we're open file subjects.txt, then we say for. Right, now we say the mode, so either read or write, and in this case, well, we want the write file mode. Then we just go write file, and again, right, the file we want to write to, let me just copy this. Now, of course, you could store this, file name in a variable if you wanted, but yeah, I'm just going to do it here like this. Right, and then the data we want to write is going to be this part, and yeah, like I said, then we just have to make sure to close the file. So I think now if we run this again, yeah, you see we've got this subjects.txt, and in here, again, you can see it's output this part, right, the subject. Right, the next one, so a database table called Hangar1 stores details of a collection of historic aircraft at a museum. Right, so we've got some ID, obviously like the primary key. Right, then we've got the make, so I guess, yeah, the brand, right, the company. Right, then the model, the year, right, engines, and airworthy, right, boolean. Right, we're going to state the number of fields and records in the database. So, I mean, the fields, well, that's basically just the columns. So the columns here, we see what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, just looking at these. Right, then the records, well, that's just going to be the rows. So what's that, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, I think that should be 11. Yeah, let me just check that again. So that's going to be 5. And then, yeah, that's going to be 6. All right, so that's 11. Right, we want to give the output that would be produced by the structured query language SQL statement. So we're going to select the model, year, and engines from Hangar1, right, where engines is greater than 1, and we also want to order by the year. So let's look then at what records will be selected by this, or yeah, what records will be filtered by this. And all right, I mean here there's actually going to be a lot of them. So I'm just going to use a different color. So let's say it's going to be this one, because this has 4 engines, right? This. Yeah, then we just go right this one and this one. Right, then we just want to order by the year. So which one is going to run? What you've got to think, right? If it says order by year, then by default that's in ascending. So this means that basically the oldest one will be first. Right, so out of these, I think this 1936 will be the oldest. So yeah, this will be number 1. Right, then this 1942. Right, then it's going to be this one. Yeah, then it's going to be this and this. Yeah, hopefully there's no mistakes in that. Yeah, I think that's fine. Right, so then we just want the model, year, and engines. Right, I mean, so let's just zoom out so we can see it a bit easier. Okay, so the first one then, the model, that's going to be this one, this 314 Clipper. Right, I mean, yeah, like, I don't know, like maybe they want that inside quotes since it's a string. Right, let's separate it just with a comma. Right, the next one we want the year, so that's going to be 1936. Right, of course, that's an integer, so we don't need a string. Okay, sorry, yeah, we don't need quotes. Right, then the engines, that's just going to be 4. And of course, yeah, then we would do it for the next one. So we would go, C47 Dakota. Yeah, I think I'll only do this one. I won't do any more. Right, that's going to be 1942. And yeah, of course, then it's going to be 2. Right, and of course, then you'd want to go, 3, 4, 5, yeah, in the correct order. Right, then we want to complete the SQL statement to display only the ID and model of all aircraft that are airworthy. Right, so here then it's saying we want to select the ID and also the model, and let's make sure to use the correct, so I guess it's capital M. Although to be honest, I think in SQL the capitalization doesn't actually matter. Right, so then we want from, and we want to say the table name. So the table name, right, Hangar1. Right, then we just want to say where. Yeah, so we have this where condition, right? We filter, and I guess it's just airworthy. That's what it's called. Right now, I mean, since this is a boolean, you know, I think we can just go where airworthy like this. You know, I mean, it's a bit weird because honestly, like in real SQL, that's going to be true or false. It's not going to be Y or N. So, and you know, they don't really tell us, well, is that a boolean? Is it a character? So I think honestly, you can just go where airworthy. Like if you wanted, you could probably go where airworthy equals Y. Yeah, I think that's how they usually do it in the mark scheme. Although again, to be honest, you know, this is not actually valid SQL. Yeah, like in reality, you'd go, well, where, I guess, yeah, where airworthy equals true. But yeah, I don't know, for some reason they use like Y and N. For the last question, the 15 marker, it says a one-dimensional 1D array teams contains the names of 10 football teams in a local league. A two-dimensional 2D array results stores for each team. Right, the number of games won, drawn, lost, and also the number of points. The position of any team's data is the same in both arrays. For example, the data in index 3 of results belongs to the team in index 3 of teams. Right, the array data will be used to find the current leader of the league. Right, the variable played stores the number of games played by each team. Each team plays the same number of games. And our program should allow the user, allow the number of games played to be input and stored with a maximum of 18 games. Right, also allow the names of the teams to be input and stored. Right, allow the names of games won, drawn, and lost to be input and stored. Right, validate the number of games played, won, drawn, lost against the number of games played. And similar to the cricket example, if you looked at paper 21, like what this is saying is if we say, well, I don't know, maybe there's 14 games in the league, but let's say they say that a team won 10 games, they drew 2, and they lost 3. Well, of course, that's going to be invalid because you're saying that a team has played 15 games. But, you know, we've said that actually there's only 14 games. Right, then we want to calculate and store the number of points for each team. 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, no points for a loss. Right, sort the array results into descending order of number of points, ensuring the corresponding parallel array teams is kept in the same order. Right, and determine how many teams have the highest number of points and output the names of the winning teams, right, along with the number of points achieved. And you must use pseudocode or program code and add comments to explain how your code works. Right, you do not need to declare any arrays, variables, or constants. You may assume that this has already been done. And all inputs and outputs must contain suitable messages. Right, so yeah, let's just go ahead and jump in and try and do this. Again, you know, of course, like by the time this video is uploaded, you know, this starter code should be available right under the exam questions. Right, so first then, I think we just want to do this, allow the number of games played to be input and stored, right, with a maximum of 18. So because we're doing some validation, I mean, let's have that in a repeat until loop. Of course, you could also use a while loop. Right, but let's go repeat until. And what we want to do, we just want to go output and let's say maybe enter number of games to play. Or yeah, maybe number of games played. Right, then we're just going to input that into played. Okay, played. And then we just, and yeah, let me just update this. Right, and we want to say what until played. I mean, I don't know, like maybe we need to go greater than or equal to 1. But I think as long as we just go what less than or equal to 18. Yeah, maximum of 18, right? So yeah, less than or equal to 18, right? That should be fine. Right, then what we want to do, we want to allow the names of the teams to be input and stored, and of course, yeah, well, the games won, drawn, and lost. So I think like all of this we can do in one loop. Calculate and store the number of points. Yeah, of course we can do that in the same loop as well, right, where they're inputting the games won, drawn, and lost. And then I guess while sorting, that's going to require another loop. That's going to require, yeah, bubble sort. Okay, alright, so yeah, let's just get all the input data first. So what we want to do, let's go maybe team num. So this is like the current team. And well, this will start at 1. And now, of course, in the exam, of course, we can just go 10. However, you know, while I'm testing it, I don't want to be testing for 10 teams, like typing in 10 names, you know, 10 wins, losses, draws, right? So it's going to be too long. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use this constant which I've created, and let's just say 3 teams. Right, so first then we just want to ask them to input the name. So let's say, right, enter name, because we want text like enter name for team 1. So let's go, team num, and then we'll just go input, and what is it called? Yeah, I think it's called teams. Okay. Right, so we're going to input teams, and this will be row or index team num. Right, then, okay, so then because we want to validate the number of games played, I mean, this we also need in a loop. And we'll want to calculate, how many games they won, won, drawn, and lost. So let's make another loop. And let's also create some variables where let's just go declare, right, this will be wins, this will be draws, and this will be losses. And we can also create a points variable, although I think we won't really need that. And to be honest, we don't also need these really. We could do it just directly. But yeah, maybe let's just create these variables, because I think Cambridge do like us to actually create variables for everything, like rather than just kind of assigning to the array directly. Right, so what we want to do then, we just want to ask them, how many wins did this team have? So let's say, enter number of wins. And let's say 4, and I mean now we've got the team name, so now of course we can just go teams, and this will be the team num. So this will just say enter number of wins for Man United. Right, then we just want to go input that into wins, and I guess what we want to do, we want to input that here into this results, because this is the results array. So right, let's go results, and the row is going to be not club name, right? Team num, and well here that's just going to be 1. And let's just assign that the number of wins. Now, I think the points we can calculate at the end. So effectively we just want to copy this really, and then we're just going to go draws. Right, let's go input draws, and this time this should be 2, and this should be draws. And let's just go losses. Right, losses, and this will be this will be column 3, and losses like that. Right, is that all we need to do? So we've inputted this. Of course, then we need to validate at the end. And calculate the points. Right, okay, so what we can do, and this is actually the same problem I had with the cricket one, right? Paper 21. Like, we could directly calculate the points in here, but that's actually a little bit pointless, because let's say if the number of wins, drawn, and losses, wins, draws, and losses doesn't equal the expected number of matches, or this played variable, then effectively we're just creating points for like an invalid number of matches, which is kind of pointless. Right, so what we can do, I mean, maybe let's create another variable like total matches, or total games maybe. And this total games, well, this is just going to be the wins plus losses plus draws. So basically the number of games they played. And I think it does say they do want kind of like relevant error messages. So let's say if the total games is not equal to played, this is of course how many they expect to play. Then what we can do, let's say, I'm trying to think of a good error message. I know, let's say, right, expected, so we want to say like expected 18 games to be entered, but only, but 16 games were entered instead or something. Right, so expected played, this would be games to be entered, or maybe results to be entered. Let's say, but, and then we go total games, results were entered instead. Right, I think that's fine, and then let's just go end if. And here, on this until, we also want the same condition. Well, I mean, kind of the opposite, right? So until total games equals played. And then that should be fine. And then once we've done that here, like now, because we know this is a valid number of games, well, here's where we can calculate the points. And I think the points, I mean, we could assign it to this points variable, or we can actually just directly assign it here to results. So this again is going to be the team num, right? The pointer is going to be in the fourth column. And remember what it says, well, wins is going to be times 3, right? Then of course we just want to go, well, plus draws. And I guess, yeah, I mean, we don't need to do multiply by 1 because well, obviously that's redundant. Yeah, obviously the losses we also don't need because, well, that's 0 points for a loss. Right, so here, yeah, we validated the games played, we've calculated the number of points, yeah, and then, right, okay, so yeah, now we just want to sort this. And I mean, this one's going to be a bit tricky because we need to sort both arrays, yeah, and of course we've got multiple columns. Right, so into descending order of number of points, okay. Yeah, and also let's make sure just to end this for loop. So that's just going to be, okay, hang on, here we go. Right, that's going to be what next team num. Yeah, maybe let me zoom out just so I can see a little bit more. Okay, right, then what we want to do, so, well, then we just want bubble sort. And bubble sort, let's remember, well, we want to have it declare like did swap, right, that's going to be a boolean. And I guess we also want, yeah, the ending position. Right, this is if we want to make it optimized. So, yeah, let's say maybe, I don't know, yeah, end position or end index. Right, that's going to be an integer. And first we'll just set the did swap. Let's just assign this. Okay, right, yeah, let's assign this true. Because what we'll do is, well, we'll loop while did swap is true. And then the end index, what we want to do, we want to assign this, I mean, in the real, yeah, let's say in the real exam, of course, you can just assign this 9. Because what you're doing is, well, you're comparing, you know, up to element 9 with the next element. So effectively, you know, team 9 with team 10. Right, if you set this to 10, well, then it would try to compare team 10 with team 11. And of course, yeah, there's no team 11, so that'll be invalid. So yeah, of course, again, right, in the exam, just hard code this as 9. But since I'm using this number of teams constant, I'm just going to go number of teams minus 1. And what we'll do, let's go while. So right, while did swap equals true. And then inside here, let's just go did swap equals false. Now, I've actually got many videos on bubble sort. I mean, obviously, yeah, like many questions about bubble sort, but I think even 2 videos. Yeah, one is IG, one is A level, right? I mean, both of them talk about bubble sort in detail. So you can watch those if you've kind of forgotten how this works. And yeah, hopefully I can do it without making a mistake. Right, so then what we want to do, well, we just want to loop for each of the, I guess, yeah, for each of the pairs. So let's just go maybe n, or yeah, like index. Right, let's go index. This will start at 1. And then we'll just go 2, and this will be the end index. And what we want to check, what if the current position, yeah, I'm trying to think if it's going to be greater than or less than. I guess it's going to be what, less than. So if the current position is less than the next element, right, then that means we want to swap them. So here, this is going to be results. Right, this is going to be index, and the points is in column 4. Right, so if this is less than results, then this will be what, index plus 1. Right, also column 4. Right, well, here is where we want to swap them. So let's just go declare, and we'll need some temporary variables. Now, yeah, I mean, the difficult thing with this is because, well, we're swapping the whole array. And again, of course, right, in the exam, you wouldn't need to actually declare this. But let's go temp array. And this is going to be an array of, well, 1 to 4 integers. Right, and then we also want to swap the team name. So let's go temp name. Right, and then that's going to be string. So what we can do in order to swap this results, effectively we want to assign the current results. I mean, well, let's just try and draw this quickly. I mean, the way I think of it is, let's say here we have, this is kind of like, well, let's say the index. Right, let's just go I. Right, the next one is going to be, well, the index plus 1. Right, then we're also going to have a temporary. So for example, we can assign this index into the temporary variable, right? Then we assign the index +1, into here, and yeah, then we assign this temporary, right, to the index +1. That can be how we swap it. So yeah, let's try and do that. Right, so what we want to do, let's go temp array, and that's going to be results. And then yeah, here we want the entire kind of like, let's say first dimension of the array. So that's just going to be index. Okay, we don't have the second, we don't have the column, because I mean here, basically we want the entire row. Okay, not just one cell. Right, then what we want to do, we want to go results, and what this will be. This will be index, and then we'll assign that results, and then the index +1. Right, I mean hopefully that's not made a mistake. Right, and then what we want to do, we then want to get results. This will be index +1, and then let's just assign that the temp array. Okay, and then basically we just want to do the same thing but for the name. So this one, let's just go temp name. And this one will be, team names? Teams. Right, and this will again be the index. Then we just want to go teams. This will be index, and we want to assign our teams index +1. So basically, the same pattern again. Right, then we just want to go teams. This will be index +1, and we just assign it the temp name. Right, hopefully that's okay, and we also need to remember, let's set this did swap to be true. And the reason we set this did swap to be true is because, well, this is saying the array is not sorted. Therefore, we're going to loop again. Right, and of course, well, if we never go inside this if statement, or inside this if condition, well, then it means that, of course, this did swap will stay as false, on this current iteration. And that's when it will then exit this loop, kind of exit the bubble sort. Right, let's go end if, let's go next index, and let's just go end while. And let's also make sure we need to decrement this index. So that's going to be outside of the for loop, once we've looped through the entire row. Then we just want to go end index, and we'll assign that end index -1, okay, just decrement. And the reason we do that is because, well, after the first iteration, the rightmost element will be sorted. After the second iteration, the two rightmost elements will be sorted, and obviously so on. Again though, if you're confused about bubble sort, like, just go on my channel, just type in bubble sort, and you can find videos like specifically about that. I think the one, the IG's, I think it's called like IG entire syllabus, right? You can watch that, go to the timestamps, they have bubble sort, linear search, right? All these other things. Right, okay, so that, I mean, hopefully that's correct, although, maybe there's an error. Right, then we want to determine how many teams have the highest number of points. Okay, and we want to output the name of the winning teams. Okay, so let's think how we can obviously get the, how we can get the number of teams that have the, the highest number of points. Well, what we can think is obviously element 1 in the results array, right? That's going to be the sort of winning team, and then we just want to keep looping while the current team has the same number of points as them. I mean, so here we could do it just in one loop, because we can actually do both of these final two things in one loop. Although, do they want us to do that? I mean, I think I'm probably just going to use 2 loops for this. Right, so the first one, let's just declare again, and this will be, I don't know, maybe winning points. Right, this is going to be integer, and we'll just assign this winning points. This will be results. Right, then we're going to want row 1, because, this is the top team. And then the points here is going to be 4. Right, let's also assign an index. Because what we're going to do is, well, we're just going to keep looping through the array. So let's go while, and we want to check And let's just start this at 2. So we'll go right index, that'll be 2. Because of course, well, we know that, you know, this first team, they've already got the highest points. Then we're checking, does the second team have the same number of points? So let's go right while results, and now this will be index. Again, also column 4, right, while this is equal to the winning points. And we also want to check that we don't exceed the bounds of the array. So let's go and, this will be index. Let's go what less than or equal to, and this will be what the number of teams. And of course, again, in the real exam, just use 10, right? But here, yeah, I'm using this constant. Right, let's go end while, and what we want to say then, I guess we also need a counter. Maybe count winning teams. And obviously, well, by default, count winning teams is just going to be 1. Right, but then here, let's go count winning teams. We're just going to increment this, because yeah, this means like 2 teams have, you know, the same result, 3 teams have the same result. And then we also just want to increment the index as well, just so it'll go to the next team. Yeah, hopefully that will work. And then what we can do, well, we can just have a for loop, and we can actually use this count winning teams. So let's go team num, and let's start this at 1, and then we'll just go, okay, hang on, 2. Right, so this is the count of the winning teams, and we then, and I mean, I guess we can just, yeah, maybe here let's just go output, and we'll say, you know, like 1 winner or 2 winners. Yeah, I know, like number of winners maybe. Right, and then that's just going to be what the count of the winning teams. And then right here, what do we want to output? Probably just the team name and points. Yeah, okay. Right, so here then, let's just go output, and this will be teams. This will be the team number. And let's just go maybe scored, or yeah, maybe achieved. Right, and then we just want the results. So remember to get the points, that's going to be team num. Right, it's going to be column 4, and yeah, let's just go points. Right, then let's go next team num, and yeah, let's see if this works. You know, honestly, I'm pretty sure it's not going to work, you know, not the first time, but let's try. Okay, so I realise this is a bit of a stupid mistake. What this is saying then is because, well, we've declared these, you know, wins, draws, losses, points, right, we've declared that inside the repeat loop, which means that, you know, the scope is only inside here. So, of course, well, there we can't use it on this until statement. You know, we also couldn't use these wins and draws outside here as well. So let's just go ahead and just put this, put these declarations, you know, outside of the loop. Then that should work. And I also realized that I accidentally declared these results as string, because I think honestly I just copied this array twice. But yeah, now that that's integer, and I think now it should hopefully be working. Right, so we can enter the number of games played. I mean, let's just say 5. Let's say team 1, that could be Man United. Let's say Man United had 4 wins, they had 1 draw. And I mean, let's try 1 loss. So this should actually ask us to, you know, enter again. Yeah, so expected 5 results to be entered, but 6 results were entered instead. Right, so now we've got to enter again. Let's say 4, let's go 1, and let's go 0. Right, team 2, I mean, let's go Man City. Let's say Man City had 2 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss. And let's say Chelsea. I'm trying to think, can I make, right, so Man United, they had 4, right, they got 13 points. Yeah, I think there's no way I can make 13 points, right, other than using the same. So let's go 4 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss. And yeah, now we can see it says number of wins is 2, Man United 13, and Chelsea 13. Finally, let's just go and comment this code. So the first one, I think we could just say input games played. Let's say and validate it's less than 18, or yeah, less than or equal to 18. Maybe yeah, doesn't exceed 18. Right, then we could just say, so this is going to be where we're looping through, you know, getting the team name and points. So right, loop through, let's say input, right, and then this is going to be what, team name. It's going to be the wins, right, draws, losses, right, and also calculate points. Yeah, I think that's everything we do. Yeah, okay, and I guess you'd also say, well, we're let's say validating number of matches played for each team. Right, so validate, yeah, I mean, let's say validate, right? Validate number of matches played for each team. Yeah, equals the played. Right, and I mean, I guess if we just do these quickly, so let's say, yeah, input team name. I mean, this declare variables, again, you don't need to do in the exam, so I won't comment this. Right, this repeat loop, well, here then we're just going to be inputting the wins, draws, losses. Yeah, and I guess again we're just going to be, yeah, and validate what the number of games played is correct. Right, okay, then I guess this last one, this is just going to be calculating the points. Yeah, let's say for current team. Right, so here let's just say, yeah, I know, like initialize bubble sort variables. This we can say, well, keep looping while not sorted. Right, here we can say, let's say compare each pair of elements. Right, this is going to be, yeah, let's say if, I don't know, maybe, yeah, if not sorted or if incorrect order. Right, let's say then swap elements. And I mean, yeah, obviously here this is just going to be swapping. Now I guess we can also say that here as well. Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't know, like, probably we don't need to comment this. Yeah, I think, I mean, let's not comment that. Hopefully it's quite obvious. Right, then this one. Okay, what we can say. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, do we need to comment this, maybe? Yeah, I know, let's go initialize variables. That should be fine. So here what we're doing is we're well, looping while the current team is, you know, has the same number of points as the winning team. Right, loop while current team has same points as winning team. Or yeah, I guess we can say, well, as first team. Because of course, yeah, that's and I mean, maybe here we can just say, yeah, I don't know, get points of winning team. And then I guess finally we'll just say, yeah, output, I don't know, output leaderboard. Or yeah, I don't know, like output winning teams. Right, so guys, I mean, one thing I did just check the mark scheme actually. And, you know, whereas here we've done this array 1 to 4 of integer and we've actually assigned the entire array, you know, to this temp array in one go. I mean, it does say we can do that, you know, in the syllabus. However, what they did in the mark scheme, and, you know, this is going to be super slow. Because you think, well, we've got like four, yeah, we've got, you know, 4 columns. So what they've done is they've actually swapped each column individually. So for example, rather than going, yeah, I guess rather than going temp array, what they would do is they would go, you know, temp 1, temp 2, temp 3, yeah, temp 4. Of course, then they would go, for example, temp 1 like this. That's going to be, well, results column 1. Right, of course, you know, then they would then, hang on. Yeah, of course, they would then just copy that, and of course they would make this, you know, temp 2, temp 3, temp 4. Of course, this would be, well, column 2, column 3, column 4. And, you know, then they would basically do the same thing here, where they would make this results, right? This would then be index 1. Right, yeah, this would also be column 1. Of course, they would then copy this like 3 more times. And of course, yeah, they would make this 2, right? This would also be column 2. And then they would do a similar thing here where, for example, they would go column 1, and then here this would then just be temp 1. And of course they would do it for, you know, obviously, yeah, 2, 3, 4 as well. I mean, yeah, obviously that is a valid way of doing it. However, you know, for the 15 marker, it's not like you have hours to do this in the exam. You know, you're probably quite tight for time. So yeah, I would recommend, I mean, obviously, yeah, this is one way of doing it, but you can just directly assign the array. Because, well, in the syllabus, right, it is stated that you can do that. Anyway, hopefully this video is useful, and as always, any questions, just ask in the comments, ask on Discord. And yeah, if it was useful, then see you again in the next video.